Today, we're going to dive into a book that's, get this, nearly 1,000 years old, but its message feels more relevant now than ever. We're talking about The Alchemy of Happiness by the great 11th century thinker Imam Al-Ghazali. It's basically this radical manual for finding meaning, not by looking outwards, but by transforming ourselves from the inside out.
Okay, so let's just start with the core question Ghazali throws at us. In a world that is completely obsessed with getting things, more money, more status, more experiences, he asks something really profound. What if happiness isn't something you get at all, but something you become? I mean, that just flips the whole modern script on its head, doesn't it?
And this is where that title comes from. For Ghazali, true happiness is the result of what he calls spiritual alchemy. It's a process of purification. You know, think of turning lead into gold, but the lead is our own raw, messy, passionate nature, and the gold, that's a soul that's been refined, purified, and connected to something much, much bigger.
And the guy behind this idea, Imam Al-Ghazali, is absolutely fascinating. He wasn't just some philosopher in an ivory tower. He was a top theologian and mystic who went through this massive spiritual crisis. He realized that the path to truth wasn't just about thinking. It was something you had to live. The Alchemy of Happiness is pretty much his step-by-step guide for that journey.
So how does this alchemy even start? Where's the first step? Well, the master key to the whole entire process is to stop looking out there and start looking in here. It all begins with knowing yourself.
This famous saying is really the bedrock of Ghazali's entire philosophy. What he's arguing is that you can't possibly begin to understand the creator of the whole universe until you understand the little universe inside of yourself. The journey to God is actually a journey through the self.
Ghazali says, to know ourselves, we first have to be honest about our dual nature. See, on one hand, we've got these animal qualities, our basic drives for food, sleep, survival, often led by lust and anger, but we also have something higher, these angelic qualities. This is our ability to reason, to see beauty, and to feel that pull towards a divine origin. The big question is, which side are you feeding?
And he uses this incredible allegory to make it super clear. Think of your body as a kingdom. Your soul, that's the king, the rightful ruler. Your reason is the wise prime minister advising the king. And what about passion and anger? Well, they're like the tax collector and the police officer. They're necessary servants, but they have to be kept in their place. If they take over, the whole kingdom just collapses into chaos. So you see, the whole point of this self-knowledge and self-control, it isn't just about being a good person. The goal is way bigger. It's to polish the heart until it becomes like a perfect mirror. When we finally scrub away all the rust of our unchecked passions and resentments, that mirror can at last reflect the divine truth and beauty it was always made for. Okay, so we need self-knowledge. We get that. But how do we structure this whole journey? Well, Ghazali lays out a really clear roadmap for us, and it's built on 4 essential pillars of understanding.
And here they are, the 4 pillars of his alchemy. It all starts with the knowledge of self, which we've just talked about. That naturally leads you to the knowledge of God. From there, you have to understand the true nature of this world we live in, and finally, the reality of the next world. It's a step-by-step path to enlightenment.
So how did those first 2 link up? It's actually beautifully simple. By studying the microcosm of ourselves, I mean, the insane complexity of our bodies, the absolute wonder of our own consciousness, we start to get a glimpse of the macrocosm. We see the power, the wisdom, and the love of the Creator reflected in the one creation we're closest to, our own being.
And Ghazali does something really clever here to make the divine a little more understandable. He points out that the nature of our own spirit, our soul, actually mirrors some divine attributes. Just like God, our soul is invisible and indivisible. It's not limited to one part of our body. By trying to grasp the mystery of our own consciousness, we get a sort of foothold for understanding the nature of God.
All right, so once we get a handle on ourselves, and God, we have to face the single biggest obstacle on this journey, our relationship with the material world. And Ghazali has some pretty stark warnings for us about its deceptive nature.
Man, that quote is it's devastatingly accurate, right? It perfectly captures the paradox of materialism. Chasing worldly pleasures to quench that deep spiritual thirst inside us is exactly like drinking salt water. It promises to satisfy you, but it only makes the ache worse until you're just left ruined.
To really drive this point home, Ghazali tells this fantastic story. Imagine a ship, that's our journey through life, and it docks at a beautiful, lush island. That island is this world. The captain tells everyone they can get off and explore, but he warns them, don't take too long because this is just a brief stop.
So, of course, the passengers all react differently. The wisest ones? They take a quick look around and head straight back to the ship to get the best seats. Others get completely distracted by the beautiful flowers and scenery. And then there's a third group. They get totally absorbed, running around collecting shiny, colorful stones, absolutely convinced they've found real treasure. But the ship has a schedule to keep, and it has to leave. That last group, weighed down by all their heavy, precious stones, they miss the boat. They get stranded on the island, and suddenly, their stones are revealed to be totally worthless, and they perish. The allegory is crystal clear. The stones are our worldly possessions, which have absolutely no value once the journey of life is over. But hold on, Ghazali isn't saying the world is totally useless. He's saying it's a marketplace, a place to gather provisions for the real journey ahead. So what are those provisions? Not the shiny stones, but the things that actually refine the soul, true knowledge, good deeds, a good character, and above all, the remembrance and love of God. These are the treasures that actually last. And this brings us to the ultimate goal of the alchemy. What happens when the journey finally ends? This is about achieving a state of being that goes way beyond physical life and death.
You know, Ghazali completely reframes how we see death. For the soul that has spent its life building a relationship with the divine, death isn't this terrifying end. It's just a bridge. It's the moment of union you've been waiting for, where the friend is finally united with the friend.
Remember that idea of the body being a vehicle? For the enlightened soul, the body is like a weary horse that's carried it faithfully through a long journey. At death, it's actually a relief to finally get off. The prize, that love and knowledge of God, has been won, and the physical burdens can finally be laid to rest. But what about the soul that never bothered with all that purification? Ghazali's vision of hell is, well, it's terrifyingly personal. It's not some external place with fire. Instead, he says our own untamed negative qualities, our pride, our jealousy, our hatred, they become the very things that torment us. They're like snakes that were sleeping inside us all along, and now they're awake, and they sting us forever.
And this insight is so important. Ghazali points to the present tense in this Quranic verse. Hell isn't just some future destination, it's a present reality. It's the state of a heart that's consumed by negativity and cut off from its divine source. The bottom line is, we are carrying our own heaven or our own hell inside of us right now.
So we come all the way back to that central metaphor. The entire purpose of this spiritual alchemy is to polish the heart until it's a clear, perfect mirror. A mirror that reflects not the fleeting distractions of the world, but the eternal light of truth and beauty. And that really leaves us with one final, unavoidable question to ask ourselves. What is your mirror reflecting?